Okay, good morning. Welcome to this next section of today's class. Like I spoke to us in the last class, which we had on understanding responsive web design. I said that today's class that we're going to be starting a series on Bootstrap 5 to be able to help us to be able to build. Bootstrap 5 is a very popular framework and probably the most popular framework for building the most popular front-end CSS framework for building websites today. It will take away the load of you actually having to manually optimize your website for mobile devices and allowing you to use the power of the Bootstrap 5 framework, which is very powerful to make your website properly optimized for different screens as may be required. So today we're going to be starting out a series today on Bootstrap 5. Honestly, you don't want to miss it. Join us on this ride. This is going to be a bit of a lengthy class. I want to encourage you to, stay sharp and enjoy the class, because let's get into the class. I remember your favorite ICT instructor, Okolo Chukwuemere Prince, the senior ICT instructor. Enjoy this class. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at Bootstrap 5 today, and what we need to first know, what is Bootstrap 5. Now let's start with that. What is Bootstrap 5? Now, even though that we have been able to look at responsive web design with the help of responsive web design, we are able to use certain CSS techniques, some CSS techniques to build websites and make the website to actually adjust to various screen sizes. And but now with the help of Bootstrap 5 now, Bootstrap is one of the tools referred to as a rapid application development tool. And what do we mean by a rapid application development tool? Bootstrap is referred to as a rapid application development tool. And what do we mean by that? There are frameworks or softwares that are provided for you by senior developers for you to be able to use it to make it to be more efficient and deliver faster on projects. And so that is what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at Bootstrap 5, the most popular CSS framework that is used for building websites, modern websites of today. Bootstrap 5, there are a number of CSS frameworks. A little search on ChatGPT or Google, and you see a lot of CSS frameworks that also do what Bootstrap 5 does. But Bootstrap 5 has proven itself to be the most popular because, one, it is very simple. Bootstrap 5 is very simple. Among all the frameworks, it is very easy for a beginner to easily grasp Bootstrap 5. It's easy for experienced developers to also understand Bootstrap 5 compared to other frameworks. We also have frameworks like Foundation and the rest of them, but in essence, Bootstrap 5 generally is the most popular front-end open source toolkit that we use for building websites. That's why we say Bootstrap 5 is the world most popular front-end open source toolkit. Unlike previous version, Bootstrap 5 underwent a major architectural shift. Now, we call it Bootstrap 5, but it has already started from Bootstrap 1 to Bootstrap 2. Bootstrap 3 was also quite popular during its time. Bootstrap 3 was quite popular and then moved to Bootstrap 4. But Bootstrap 5 took a different turn. It totally received a total architectural shift. Just like when you look at the history of Java and discover Java changed drastically when it hit Java 8. And that's exactly the kind of situation in the case of Bootstrap 5. So Bootstrap 5 is the world's most popular. It just helps you to build websites that are well optimized. Takes away the headache of optimizing your websites manually for mobile devices. It helps you to take away that headache. Now Bootstrap 5 initially was not able to work alone. Bootstrap 5 had to work with another popular library known as jQuery. jQuery is a very popular JavaScript library that is actually the most popular JavaScript library among all the various JavaScript libraries. jQuery is the most popular JavaScript library, and it is used to achieve a lot of tasks. So many things that you need to write manually in JavaScript. In jQuery, you don't need to write them manually. jQuery, maybe you need to do something with 25 lines of code in JavaScript. In jQuery now, jQuery will allow you to do that in less than 5-6 lines of code. So this is why jQuery gained traction, and because of that, a lot of other plugins, JavaScript plugins, often referred to as jQuery plugins, have been built on jQuery. Lots of them have been built on jQuery. So that way, jQuery is able to achieve a lot. jQuery has gained a wide traction as the most popular JavaScript. jQuery has attained a wide traction as the most popular JavaScript framework that is available out there. But now, initially, when during Bootstrap 1, Bootstrap 2, Bootstrap 3, Bootstrap 4. Bootstrap needed to, you could not use Bootstrap alone without the help of jQuery. Bootstrap never had a JavaScript library of their own, but Bootstrap so Bootstrap had to rely heavily on jQuery and worked simply as a CSS framework. Now, but why was it dropped? Now, why Bootstrap 5 dropped jQuery? In earlier version, Bootstrap relied heavily on jQuery for its interactive components. What are the interactive components? Like modals, drop downs, etc. These are things that you cannot achieve with pure CSS or HTML that needed JavaScript for you to achieve them. Some of these things like modals are like pop-ups that you see on websites, drop down menus. These things cannot be achieved without the help of JavaScript. You needed to make use of JavaScript to achieve them. So Bootstrap 5 completely removed this dependency, writing all plugins in vanilla JavaScript. So Bootstrap 5 had to remove the dependency on jQuery and rewrote all their plugins on vanilla JavaScript, which is the standard normal JavaScript that you and I know, the normal JavaScript that we have learned here over time. Writing all plugins in vanilla JavaScript. This results in lighter file sizes. Now, the file size of what your code, the file size of your code becomes smaller. Your page will loads faster, and better integration with modern JavaScript frameworks. Now, there are other, Bootstrap 5 can also be used together with other modern JavaScript frameworks like React, Vue, AngularJS, Next.js, and the rest of them. You can use Bootstrap. If jQuery was still dependent, if Bootstrap 5 still relied on jQuery, it will not be able to be used for building this kind of for building applications in React, in Vue.js, or in AngularJS. So this was one of the reasons why the jQuery removal was imminent, and they were able to strip away the dependency on jQuery. So Bootstrap had to rely on its very own JavaScript library known as Bootstrap.js. As we progress, you're going to see that. Now, CDN versus local installation. Now, CDN is now how do you use Bootstrap 5 in your application? That's what we want to look at now. You can either use Bootstrap 5 locally, which I advise against as a developer. I would advise that you always use the cloud option. Now, even if you are building on your system, even if you are building your website, a website on your system, make sure your system is connected to the internet, and always use the cloud option to build your websites. To build your websites, that's what the CD and content it is the best option than local installation. Local installation means that you have to download Bootstrap into your system and make it a part of the file system of your website. There is no need of that if you can just simply make use of CDN. Now, what are the two ways? The two ways is CDN. We say CDN, content delivery network, best for quick setups and prototyping. Files are hosted on distributed server, meaning users might already have them cached from other sites, speeding up load time. So if you use it from CDN, if you install Bootstrap from a CDN, if you use Bootstrap from a CDN and successfully, if you use Bootstrap from a CDN, I'm so sorry, I'm repeating myself too much. If you use Bootstrap from a CDN, your website is going to load faster because it is a popular framework. Your website is not the only website using Bootstrap. Many people have visited other websites before they came to your website, and from those other websites, Bootstrap may have already been cached in the user's browser. So if it's cached there, when your website comes, Bootstrap does not need to load afresh on your own website since it's already cached by the browser. So this is one of the advantages, and then that way your website will load faster. So I encourage you as a developer, even I as a developer, I do not use local installation. I always do all my websites using Bootstrap 5 CDN because that has become, that is the most profitable way. That is the best way to use it. One, your website will load more efficiently, more faster, and better than whatever it is you have now. And then the local installation, you can install Bootstrap locally. We say best for production, offline development. Like when you are building purely offline, you are not making use of any other thing, you are just building offline. And when you need to customize SAS variables, you will hardly need to do that. Let me just be sincere to you. You know, one of the things I do about my teaching is that I have been a developer for a very long time now. Well over, I think roughly over 15 years now, I've been a developer. I've been writing softwares, I've written a lot of applications, I've written a lot of softwares, and I'm still writing new applications and new websites with more technologies. And I can tell you, I always try to tell you what is in the market. You get me? I'm not just interested in loading you with skill upon skill upon skill. I want to provide you with skills, and I want to learn from you something that will be profitable to you when you go to the field. And I can tell you for free that you will hardly ever have to, in any of your applications, have to customize Bootstrap SAS variables. So it is always better to use a CDN when you are working with Bootstrap. Use local installation should be reserved purely for when you are using Bootstrap on other frameworks like React, like Vue.js and AngularJS. When you are using it on those kind of frameworks, which may not allow you to use CDN, you can use which may not allow you to use it in CDN, which may not allow you to use CDN, you can use the npm, that is Node.js package manager, to be able to install Bootstrap and be able to use it there first. So Bootstrap is mobile first. So before you can use Bootstrap, another requirement is that before you can use Bootstrap, like I told you, Bootstrap is where you must include the viewport meta tag to ensure proper rendering and touch zooming on mobile devices. Now you must use the viewport meta tag. Like I told you, that is the most important meta tag in the whole of the head section. There are lots of meta tags that you can use in the head section, but the most important meta tag is the viewport meta tag, and that's what we're saying, that it must be there. It must be there for you to successfully make use of Bootstrap in your application. Now, for you to use Bootstrap, that's also the boilerplate starter template. What do you need to do for you to use Bootstrap in your application? So we're going to be starting out quickly. So I'm going to go to my XAMPP. I always like to use XAMPP because XAMPP helps me to keep my application, to keep my websites files properly organized. So now we'll go to XAMPP as usual. Okay, and in this case, I'm going to on my XAMPP. I won't be running directly, and I'm going to create a new. I'm going to create a new folder called on class 2. Yeah, please follow me, on class 2. The purpose of this is that like I explained to us in previous classes, I said every folder here represents a new website. So I'm creating a new folder called on class 2, and inside on class 2, as usual. Now Bootstrap does not stop you from having your own custom CSS code on your own custom JavaScript code. Bootstrap never stops you from doing that. You can use Bootstrap and still make use of your own custom CSS codes and JavaScript codes. It will not stop you from doing that. Just take note of that. The only thing that you must ensure that you do not name your classes the same way Bootstrap 5 classes are named. If you name your classes the same way, you might have issues of confusion. You might confuse your website in what you are doing. So the first thing I will do here is to create my usual folders. My new folder, I'm going to create CSS folder, CSS. New folder, I'm going to create the JS folder. Okay, JS. Okay, I'm going to create the JS folder. Okay, after we create JS folder, I also will create the IMGs folder. Like I told you, everything you are doing in your website, you can still do. The only thing that Bootstrap 5 will take away the load of optimizing your website for mobile devices by providing you with various classes, special CSS classes that you can use in your own application. You will see us do that now in some of the things we'll be doing now. Providing you with special CSS classes that you can use in your own application together with your own custom classes to achieve the right results. So then, after we have done all of this, I can now go further, okay, and I create a new file, save as usual. We're going to save this as on class 2. I'm going to save first my index.html, index because we're using Notepad++, we have to select what we are saving it as. So with hypertext markup language, we save. I'm also going to create my CSS, okay, file new, by save as. I suggest that you always do this for any website you find yourself wanting to build. So style, and then you click here and go to CSS cascading style sheets file. This. Then I'm also going to create my JavaScript file because I may need JavaScript for one or two things as I build my application. So we'll open here and I have my scripts. The script, JavaScript file, I'll say. So now I've created my 3 files. I created my index.html directly inside the folder of the website because index, I told you, is the first page of a website that is looked for by every server. And inside my CSS folder, I created a file called style.css. This is where my own custom CSS codes are going to reside in. That's the CSS code that are my own, that are not from Bootstrap 5, are going to reside here. And then these scripts.js, this is where my own custom JavaScript files are going, my JavaScript code is going to reside in. Outside JavaScript codes from Bootstrap, outside the ones of Bootstrap and the ones of jQuery or any other JavaScript libraries, I may deem fit to use in this particular application. Okay, let's continue. Yeah. Now, the boilerplate code. Now, when we say boilerplate, we're saying what is we're talking about the templates that you use. What is the basic what do you need to do? What's the basic template that you can build upon when you are building Bootstrap 5 application? So you can copy this code from our manual and then we'll paste it here. Okay. Now, I'm going to be explaining what each and every one of these stages are. Now, we have, first of all, the most important tag I told you. You must have your meta. We have our doctype HTML as usual. HTML and go to it. And then we have the head section. And inside the head section, we have this meta chart set equal to UTF, which I've already explained to us that this means that the character set you are going to be using in this particular web page, both your programming text and your normal text are going to be in UTF-8. UTF-8 is one of the American standard codes for information interchange. Okay, and then you come here. This is the most important. Without this tag, Bootstrap 5 cannot be effective on your site. So you must have the meta name equal to viewport, content equal to width equal to device-width, comma, initial-scale equal to 1.0. And I've explained to us what this is. That viewport refers to the current device where your website is being viewed at that particular time. And then we have the content equal to width equal to device-width. We are referring to the width of the current device being viewing your website at that moment. Okay, and we have what we call initial-scale. We're talking about the zoom level where your website should be. So it's always leave it on 1.0. That's always the best way to leave it. And then we have the title tag. Of course, I told us that the title tag is referring to, let me launch my XAMPP. I believe my XAMPP should be faster. Hopefully today we'll have a faster XAMPP. Let's see. Let me launch my XAMPP if it's going to launch quick enough. And so you can see, but like I told us, if you look at my manual over here, this is the title tag. This is where everything you put in the title tag displays here. This is also where it's also near the title tag that you put in your fav icon, which is this icon if you want to provide an icon for your website. So that is that part. And then now, this is the most important part. The first thing you need to include in Bootstrap is your CDN. The CDN, that is where you need to include the Bootstrap CSS file. Bootstrap is a CSS framework, like I told you earlier, that is used for making responsive website. And you do it the same way that you link exact same way that you link your normal CSS files in your CSS code. Your HTML is what you do. But then in this case now, the href now, you will not be referring to something locally hosted. You have HTTP. You can see this is the CDN server. Of course, if you want to get this CDN server, you don't need to cram it. If you just go to Google and type, go to Google, go to any platform, ChatGPT, Google, anywhere, just tell them Bootstrap 5 CDN. Just say Bootstrap CDN. You include it in the head section of your code. So this is where the Bootstrap CSS. There's an arrow here equals style. But then after you do this, we're going to do something important. After you have included that, also include your custom CSS equal to style sheets. Okay, like I say, Bootstrap doesn't stop you. href is equal to css/style.css, because that's how I save my own, but we do it often because we are old-time coders. But you see, so type is equal to text/css. Okay, so that is for that, and then you slash, we close it properly. Now this you must make, but one of the things you must know is the order of inclusion. You must include Bootstrap 5 CDN CSS file before you include your custom CSS file. Bootstrap 5 has to come before your own because of where it is coming from and the classes and everything. So you must first include, that's why it must follow this order. You first include the Bootstrap 5 CSS CDN and then include your own custom CSS file. You can see my custom CSS file, which is this style.css that I created. We can see, okay, first of all, let me so that you will know what I mean by saying that you must not, you can still use your custom CSS. So now we have it, and then we have this. Now the next thing you must also include just before the closing of the body tag, after all your code, before the closing of the body tag, it is important that you include the Bootstrap 5 CSS JS bundle. All together, the Bootstrap 5 JS bundle. You include the CSS bundle at the head section and the JS bundle at the body section, and it has to be included just before the closing body tag, just before this tag here. you have to include it. And you can see it here. Just a little search for Bootstrap 5 JavaScript CDN URL, and you can get it on the internet. So this is not even a difficult thing. So you can link it. You can see bootstrap.bundle.min.js. Now I can also with this now I can also go ahead and include. Now after you have included, you can include your own custom JavaScript. You can include your own custom JavaScript file. So I'm going to include my js/scripts.js. Okay, you can include your custom js/scripts.js. Okay, you don't, that's all you need to. You can include, but make sure that you include the Bootstrap 5 JavaScript first before you include your own custom JavaScript code. If you are also using any other JavaScript library, you must include each and every one of them. Like if I wanted to use jQuery here, let's say for instance I want to use jQuery, I will just Google, let's just use let me use ChatGPT. Like I say, AI is a very good part of this whole equation. I'm going to ask ChatGPT for jQuery CDN link, jQuery link. Okay, okay. If I just tell ChatGPT for jQuery CDN link, ChatGPT will deliver jQuery CDN link for me. You can see. So if I wanted to include jQuery into my code now, I will just copy this. Okay, let's use the same CDN.js that we have been using. I'll just copy this, and I'm going to make it will make it to come after the Bootstrap CDN. It doesn't matter, it will still work. I'll just paste it there. Perfect. And then my custom JavaScript is here. The same way, any other JavaScript file that you are going to use from any other JavaScript library provider, you can integrate them inside here. So my XAMPP is open. I'm going to start. Let's see if our aperture is going to start. See. Let's be sure that our aperture is running. Okay, aperture is running successfully. Okay, so I'm going to search for, I'm going to open my browser, and I'm going to go to localhost slash let's say on+2, because I believe that's what. Now you can see hello Bootstrap 5, and you see this is the amazing thing about it. If you view the page source now, you can, if I click here now, you can see this is the Bootstrap CSS file brought in from online. This is my CSS now. Okay, CSS like styles.css. Now you see the mistake now, like I always tell us, try to be careful of your file name. I said styles.css instead of style.css, and my file is style.css. So I have to remove this S here so that everything will be working as they ought to work. So if I refresh now and you view page source, you see this style.css, it will open. There's nothing there, just so you know what I'm saying, that it does not stop you from using your own custom JavaScript code. Like you can see, we just have a heading here, just a normal heading without any of the Bootstrap 5 classes at work now. Okay, we just have a normal heading here. Okay, let me now write, let me now use Java, let me use CSS and say body. Okay, background -color, so that you can know what I'm saying. It does not stop you from using your own custom background-color. So I'm going to say orange color. Okay, Control S, and you're going to see that our website is going to carry an orange color. Okay, why so sometimes it may be a catch problem. We have body background color equal to orange. Okay, let me get htmlcolorcodes.com, and let us drag let's use a hexadecimal color code. So let's just pick one. Let me pick something bright. So copy. Okay. So when you click it, normally when you click here, it should copy, but if it doesn't, just highlight it and copy it yourself manually. And let's see what will happen. Okay. And that is it. It should work now, so that we can move on. Perfect. So you see when we changed it from orange to the color code, it's automatically started working. You can see you see this is my custom CSS file. Okay, this is my custom CSS file, and Bootstrap is also included, and they do not interrupt each other. But basically, as a boilerplate code, this is not necessary for you. You don't need this. What you need is just these options like this. But what we are just saying here is that is simple and short, that you must include Bootstrap 5. What is most important is that you include Bootstrap 5 here at your heading, the CSS framework from the CDN at your heading, and you include the JavaScript framework here at your heading. Okay, now let's continue. We're moving. Yeah, so that's for this. Now what are the now we're going to be going deeper into, we're going to be going into the Bootstrap 5 fully now, to understand what are some of the classes that Bootstrap 5 provides us with. Okay, now I'm going to be clearing what I've done already, so that we have a very clean, we have something clean. I'll also be removing this heading, or we can leave the heading just for some few reasons. Let's leave the heading. So we're going to be looking at essential utilities, colors, spacing, and borders. Okay, we're going to be looking at essential utilities, colors, spacing, and borders. What are some of the things that Bootstrap 5 provides for us? Okay, yes.